Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of MTG Arena. Today is Wednesday, November 27th. Let's hop back in. Well, actually, I wanted to make a slight adjustment to my deck, didn't I? So, we are we're so built around the concept of using the one character, these spell gorger weirds, that these extra cards here are what we would want. As many of the multicolored spells that also give us mana. Meanwhile, I think I can get rid of one mountain. I think I'm a little too high on that. And then I probably could get rid of most of those. And then I don't think that there's a great reason to play Chandra, other than it's to draw cards for a later game strategy. So I'm not sure about that. So what we're looking for is the spinning wheel. And yeah, just put in these 4 spinning wheels and then that'll get me back to 60. And that's all the change, just a slight adjustment. We'll see how that works. Meanwhile, we're gonna burn through the news and maybe we'll have a third episode today, maybe we won't. Gamma Sutra has an article here. See how Control's Ashtray Maze was made at the DC 2020 summits. Now, the thing I would say here, as this is just an advertisement for GDC from Gamma Sutra, which is the parent company owns GDC. The thing I would say there is there really isn't much of a question in my mind how the Ashtray Maze was made. Like, unless they're talking specifically about how the Ashtray Maze was made when it was running before you actually had the ability to get through it. Because there was a small kind of twisting puzzle maze in it that you could find some secrets. That I found a few secrets. Maybe there was a lot more to that part. But at a certain point you get music, and then the music lets you move through the maze, and at that point it's extremely linear. Now there's a lot of visuals there, and there's some cool visuals, certainly cool concepts that are being depicted, but there's nothing really special about it. I mean, it's a great sequence to say the least, but it's not doing anything special or different. There aren't actually any like portals that are teleporting anybody. There aren't any enemies that are really walking on the ceiling or crawling. It tries to evoke an MC Escher-esque world, but all the enemies in Control, or a lot of them, flew anyway, so the ones that are not standing on the ground are just flying like normal. So all you've done is really reskin the walls and changed some timing and changed some animations and just scripted some events. It's all flash, it's all just animation, and it looks very pretty, but it's almost making the same argument about, does anybody really question how a kung fu fight happens in a kung fu movie, or particularly like a Bruce Lee movie? There is really no question about it, or even a Jackie Chan movie. There's no tricks being done. It's just people practicing and making it look flashy and doing something cool looking. And we're having connection issues, so of course this is not gonna work. Now, in comparison, if you were going to ask, like, how was the Crouching Tiger, Flying Dragon movie made? Yeah, that's all done with wire work and visual effects and all kinds of camera tricks and things like that. Things that would be something that needs to be explained. But yeah, if two people in a regular kung fu movie just get up close to each other and start punching each other, guess what? They're just pretending to punch each other. They just have a dance that they've been practicing and they do it. So yeah, it's kind of a non-article amongst the many Gamma Sutra non-articles designed around the promotion of GDC, which, yeah, a lot of people go to GDC and meet the creators and meet other creators. I really like being able to just not mulligan and play as the cards get better. I'm hoping that more often that happens, almost always. But yeah, right now I probably should be mulliganing a little bit more, particularly when I have a deck that is specifically built around really only playing 3 characters. This next game we have on Steam is coming up to the line, I suppose, of suggestive without really crossing it in the screenshots. I imagine the actual game is full on, potentially full nudity, although maybe it's not, and at that point this game has no good selling point. This has Death Touch, so I definitely want to attack now. So we have a game on Steam here called Bondage Girl, which seems like what it is it's really just a posing software with a 3D model. This character not seeming like she is much of anything, and she's probably just a pre-bought 3D model. All of these are. And then there's just different forms of clothing and different forms of bondage you can put her in, whether you're doing like a prison kidnap scenario or more of a Japanese art style of tortoiseshell bondage. Let's see, this is the tortoiseshell style as I understand it. Doesn't seem like there's much here as far as an actual game. It's $4.99. English, Chinese, and Japanese. It's almost certainly a Chinese game. There's a ball gag as I'm watching the video. I'm not gonna bring that up. And there's different poses. The thing here, and this is where this is gonna fall apart, is you could easily already own Skyrim and then apply any number of adult Skyrim mods to do a lot more than what this game probably does, and it would look a lot better. There's a streamer, MXMR I believe is his name, that pretty much single-handedly focuses on doing adult mods for Skyrim, although he sometimes does regular mods. So I'd say check out his channel and you'd be way better off than buying this game. And since this is a Chinese game, I suspect that there may actually not be any nudity in it. It's not tagged with any nudity. It says it has a story mode, which that's a joke. Yeah, the mature description says they're just bondage elements. It doesn't say anything about nudity, so the whole game being filtered through the Chinese censorship perspective has no value to the rest of the world, because it's not really delivering to much of an audience, unless you happen to have a fetish for boring, only slightly suggestive content. One would hope that that is not the beginning of an indication of where Valve has started to draw a line, and all adult games can only be as explicit as that, because that would be super boring, and it would be better off, Valve would be better off just completely banning adult games if that's what they were going to do. Man, I played it the wrong turn, didn't I? Because this is going to get a buffer, and then it's going to get that buff and then lose that buff before it's my turn. Meanwhile, only thing I can do is this. And then let's just prepare to attack. Next we have a game on Steam called Gang of Four, which looks like it's a strategy card game. Is it Uno? Is it Draw 4? Is it... Yeah, this might just be Mahjong played with cards, which would be... not cribbage, I forget what Mahjong played with cards is called. This probably is another low effort Chinese game. $6.99. That's pretty expensive. English and French with a third party account and a EULA, and it's Asmodee Digital or Asmodee.net requirement. Yeah, they priced themselves out of a sale, certainly, at $6.99. Like, this is a $2.99 game at minimum, and it seems like it's a Chinese game, so I don't know why it doesn't support the Chinese language. Let's see, Adventure Lifelink. Let's go ahead and kill this. See, let me look at what Asmodee Digital has put together. Otherwise, the Lord of the Rings adventure card game, Gloomhaven, none of the images are loaded, Mansions of Madness. Yeah, they have a lot of the board games and card games. Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride, First Journey. Yeah, Asmodee Digital, known for translating card games to digital games. Unfortunately, they're also kind of known for doing it very poorly, and nobody ever really liking the games and charging too much in general. And then that, and then attack here, and I've lost. This aggro deck isn't working, clearly. But we're making progress. There is a problem with these daily quests in that you finish them way quicker than you get even 10 victories per day, let alone the 15 maximum you could get while still getting rewards. And I wouldn't want the daily quest to get longer and more difficult, so I don't know what to say there other than perhaps let more things stack. But I don't know how you really do that either. You probably need to reduce it from giving rewards from 15 victories to giving rewards up to 10 victories, and probably maybe even 5. Like 5 victories gives you the max rewards, and then rebalance at that. So triple the amount of rewards you get for each individual victory, and then have 5 victories per day. If I only had to play 10 or 20 games to get 5 victories every day, I very well might commit to playing playing every single day. But rewarding the lifestyle players that are really going to play this 15 times every day is just crazy. Because they're not the audience that you're trying to keep or trying to grow. The audience you're trying to keep and grow are the casual players. And speaking of casually playing games, I looked at how it gets with Azure Lane, and it seems like you pretty much have to spend 15 to 30 hours doing the full main story before you reach a level of commander. But even at that, it doesn't seem like there is any kind of automation autoplay feature. So I don't know if there's a game there that I really want to play because it's. So I'm probably just gonna get bored with it and uninstall it on Monday, and I'm just playing with it over the Thanksgiving holiday. This is a hand I should mulligan. Like, I've got too much mana now. Let's see. Too much mana, yeah. So, yeah. That being said, if the other Azure Lane game, Azure Lane Crosswave, is different and comes to PC, I might be willing to check it out. It may just be that the mobile game is too much of a hassle to play, where Destiny Child is still going great. Although I will say, in this most recent event, I did not unlock a character that I should have been able to unlock, and that kind of sucked. But whatever. I'll unlock him at some point, or I'll get bored with the game and stop playing it at some point. It wasn't a collab character, and I'm not sure that they're even going to do any more collabs. Really, so it may be perfectly fine going forward. Moving on, we have a game on here called Takinoko, which looks like a Japanese version of the Wood for Sheep game. It's not. What is that one called? Regardless, it's from Asmodee Digital. Also, so like Tabletop Simulator, it was $9.99 on the sale. Uno is $2.99. It says in-app purchases and requires a third-party account. I don't think I want to play any of the Asmodee Digital games if I have to make a third-party account, frankly. And this is $9.99 for what probably is just a kid's version of the game that I can't remember the name of. So yeah, and certainly doesn't help Asmodee Digital to put out 2 games at the same time, right before or right during a sale. Why they didn't put that out a little bit earlier, I don't know. But they certainly are going to get lost in the crowd. Speaking of getting lost in the crowd, we have a game here on Steam called Rock Simulator. And I don't think there's ever been a better example of a low effort asset flip on Steam. $1.19 discounted, English only. Why did somebody not catch this? Like, why didn't somebody see the name that it has rock in the name and simulator in the name? Particularly simulator. They should be looking and searching for every game title that has simulator in the name and giving that a second look at the very least to say, is this something we would want in our collection? I'm just gonna go ahead and kill this and exile it, because that's probably a major strategy card of his. But yeah, that's somehow got allowed on Steam, and yet Steam says they've taken off 2,000 games. They've taken off 1,000 games. Let's see. This would deal damage to a creature. This will deal damage to a creature. Like, I've got too many spells, I think, that would deal damage to a creature. And these guys don't synergize with me dealing damage, so there's kind of no point for me to even have done that spell, other than I'm just clearing the field, which I didn't even really need to do. So, and we do that, pay the adamant, and then we do this. So is our aggro deck ready for prime time? Should I move over and try and play it in ranked? That's the question. I want things that would deal damage, but not specifically to just creatures. I want something that deals damage to anything. So is there a spell I missed? There we go. 1, 2, 3 of those. And then let's get rid of some of the creatures that are just one, two, three. I don't know if this card is actually worth it. What I'd really like is another card that would buff and get +1/+1. If I type in the word +1 and hit enter, you think that there's something here? There's an equip card, we could take that. It's not really what I'm looking for. Get 7 dwarfs in there. Yeah, I just want more cards like that. +1/+1 and a double strike. That might be the best we've got. That might be the best one to play. This one seems like a major game changer, but it would be such a late game card. I think that makes sense. Nope, I don't think we've got anything better. Wish I had more of those cards too, but only one of those could be on the field anyways. Right. Okay. So slight change there. Not even gonna mess with the Wednesday Brawl stuff anymore. It doesn't give you anything and would only slowly teach me a few things. Honestly, I know the timing is completely different, so what I'm saying wouldn't really have worked, but it seems silly that they're pushing people playing Arena to learn how to play Brawl when they would be better off pushing them to play Pioneer and introducing Pioneer, or pushing them to play Historic, which they just released Historic, so that would make sense too. Gets around that death touch. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Phil Spencer says VR is isolating, isn't a priority for Project Scarlet. So, yeah, the next game console not going to be focused on VR or prioritizing that. That isn't to say that at some last moment they don't add VR support to it, where you can plug in a VR headset, but then none of the games really support it. The PlayStation VR was moderately successful on the scale of VR things, but yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing VR a main focus, and it would be funny if the PlayStation 5 came out and they went very heavy into VR. Now, very possibly the next generation after this next generation, whatever the PlayStation 6 and whatever the Project Scarlet successor is, I wouldn't be surprised if they had VR headsets. But yeah, it's too early. Also, I don't think Microsoft, particularly when they're looking at their Xbox service and that ecosystem, that is kind of the cheaper entry-level way to play games compared to just a Windows PC. So that they've already got you pretty much if you have a Windows PC, you can add their augmented reality or a virtual reality system easily on top of a pretty strong PC. So enthusiasts that are into doing stuff like that will still be able to, Microsoft will still be able to have some connection there. The idea that it's isolating, I think, is a interesting perspective to take from it, and some of the other talk of them focusing more on RPGs the next generation does make it feel like they are going in a different direction that might be the right direction. I would like to see the video game world shift away from first-person shooters. I think we've all had enough of them. I mean, we'll still get our annual amount of first-person shooters, undoubtedly, but if more games became more like RPGs and less like first-person shooters, that would be great. compare Call of Duty to Jedi Fallen Order, just to see that we are seemingly moving in that direction. What does this one do? So, oh, this is a garbage card. Need to remove this. Choose a target permanent card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, which means it pretty much would never work, except for it would bring back the 1 cards. Guess that might work a little bit, but not a lot. Alright. See, I'm trying to not really do anything with... What? That's not what I meant to do. I meant to do the exact opposite of that. That was dumb. Yeah. The Xbox in particular, I'm surprised that worked. Is in a position where you're trying to have friends play together, so adding VR support doesn't make a lot of sense.
Let me remind you to fear those born of
I've probably lost, but I kinda need to learn where my mistakes were. Speaking of VR, we have a game here called Cubeland VR, which almost certainly is just a VR... I don't know why you call this Cubeland, it doesn't even look that cubey. But it does look like it is just a selection of low effort thoughts. Yeah, and assets. This doesn't look good. Early access, $5.99, which is way too cheap for VR. English full audio, allegedly. Yep. Another thing that doesn't need to exist. Alright. So no blocks, just let it go. Wow. 6 damage. I can do that. I can't be blocked. Then I can attack here and lose. Just auto pass. Gamma Sutra has an article here. NetEase has purchased a stake in the Surgeon Simulator developer Bossa Studios. Seems like as we're approaching the end of the year, companies are buying other companies like crazy. So they must have been sitting on slightly more money than they thought they were. The stock markets do seem like they're going up and down like crazy. Anyways, so let's see. Is there any kind of card that would summon a card out of your hand, your deck? Alright, so Historic Pauper is a new thing, and this would allow you to get, let's see, at least 3 uncommons that are not in standard. Well, this would be for 500 gold, and if you got 4 wins you'd get 600 gold, so you could make back your money even. But it really is going to give you only 3 cards at most, and 1 would be rare and 2 uncommons. So the popper part of this, I suppose, is the thing to notice. And they've also We got a pack, so we might as well open it. Yeah, I don't know how you would play historic. Like, how would this really work? If we were going to... I guess historic right now includes Core 20, Core 19, Dominaria, Jalaxian, and Rivals of Jalaxian. And I don't have any of those cards. And then as historic moves on in the next rotation, I guess the next 4 things, which would be Ravnica Allegiance, War of the Spark, and Core 20, I don't have any of those cards. But theoretically, I should have some of these cards because I really should buy a bunch of these Core 20 cards. It will be extremely difficult, practically impossible, for me not to at some point have to make the decision to open a ton of packs of Core 20. I suppose if I just wait long enough until the next expansion happens, and then I open a bunch of packs of the next expansion, and that just gives me enough cards to merge with Eldraine to perhaps play all my way till the next expansion, and then by the 3rd expansion, almost a year from now, at that point, buy Core 21. Like, that seems highly unlikely. That's how that would actually work. Meanwhile, I wanted to see, and we're doing a lot of tweaking here, is there some kind of draw card? If I type in draw, and some kind of spell that would let you draw more cards. Discard a card and draw 2 cards plus 3 minutes. That's terrible. Discard a card and draw a card. That might be what we need to do. Sacrifice an artifact or a land. If we were gonna go with more of a discard deck, that might work. But that seems kind of crazy. If I had more of these, that'd be useful. How are we on making commons and uncommons and rares? And like, we really don't have a lot of wild cards. We probably wasted a lot. And then Nicholas Bolas, which is 1 blue and then 3 black and then 1 red. It's like way too hard to find. Yeah, looking at just like all the cards, I probably should be in crafting mode actually. Yeah, there seems to be only 3 cards that even have deck in their name as a key phrase. Yeah, so it doesn't seem like there is anything that would draw a card directly out of my collection and out of my deck and put it in my hand. And that's something I feel like Hearthstone would have done, but apparently Magic is just a little too complicated because they have so many cards that it can't do something like that. Yeah, there is something to say be said about if they just adopted kind of a Magic Light concept where they specifically were reducing the number of cards to make it a more simplistic experience. Pokemon, the card game, I imagine, is the Magic Light concept. But unfortunately, they've never made a Pokemon trading card game. Honestly, if they made Pokemon Arena, with the slight exception of Nintendo being involved and videos potentially being claimed on YouTube by Nintendo, I would consider the jump there. I would totally consider moving over from Magic to a Pokemon. I don't care one bit about Pokemon. I just think the card game would be simpler and it would be easier to learn and adapt to. And perhaps that's the idea, is that Wizards of the Coast has this theory they'll get people playing Pokemon the card game until they're 12 or 14 and then move them over to Magic the Gathering. But I don't know if that really would work, because there's a problem with that, in the fact that if you're 14 and just at that point getting into Magic, you don't have enough money for the cards, it's too expensive a game, and you haven't been playing long enough to ever be competitive. So I don't think that really would work as an idea, and it probably hasn't worked. Now would be about the time that anybody who was playing Pokemon the card game would be about maybe 20 now, maybe a little bit older. And it'd be interesting to hear any stories from Magic players that said they started on Pokemon and then evolved to Magic. I'm just going to play this because I don't have anything better else to do. I don't want to discard a card for no reason. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Blog, how we combine film and cosmetics to create the noir aesthetic of Interrogation. Interrogation apparently being a game. This is kind of a advertisement for a game, I would guess. It looks interesting though. It does look like they effectively rotoscoped, which is what you do when you animate over live action footage. So they rotoscoped, which is cool. It's a cool thought. Of course, what you run into, and I'm seeing it even here, is an inconsistency in the art style. So like when you're over here and you're looking at this, this looks a lot different than what this looks like, than what this looks like, and then what this looks like. So consistency would be key, and having a tight and well controlled art direction would be a major goal in making a game like that. And this game is not out yet. Then we have another blog from Gamma Sutra here. What does a healthy publisher-developer relationship look like, with real contract details? So if you're interested in being a publisher or developer and looking at another person's contract, which would probably be pretty informative, or some details from that. That being said, I think a healthy relationship in general, whether in business or personal, is kind of the white whale. Most relationships end unhealthily or begin unhealthily, or at least spend a significant amount of their time being an unhealthy experience. 4 mana to do that. Can't. Yeah. Need this on the field in case this dies, so I can sacrifice this to bring this back. But yeah, one thing I probably could say in any kind of contract negotiation or anything like that is that there is a lot of positivity, and we'll just do a handshake deal to start the business, and then as soon as things start going bad, there's nothing in the contracts to account for those scenarios. And you should be pretty negative when writing your contracts. Frankly, you should assume the worst, have an out, have a resolution, and agreed upon resolution for terminating the contract and no longer working with each other right at the beginning, because nobody's going to want to negotiate that at the end, for sure. I've lost. My aggro deck, not aggro enough. So I might really be in a bad position to be playing an aggro deck. It's about 50-50, and I've said it so many times, I don't want in a game to have a win ratio of 50%, but in this case, I think I'm probably earning that 50%. Like, if I play fast, if I play very aggro, I will win about half the time. And then I'll lose horribly the other half of the time, which might be very efficient use of my gameplay time, frankly, because if I can't go aggro quickly, then I can usually concede. I could probably concede every game in which the opponent has even 3 characters on the field. And the balance of the damage you do here only makes sense because we have 20 health. If we had even 25 health, I don't think any aggro deck would win ever. Moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Stay Out that's mixed. It looks like it's a free-to-play massive multiplayer by the tags. There's a decent amount of animation here, but I bet there's like no real game. It says it's early access, multiplayer only, third-party EULA, English and Russian. So yeah, it might just be a asset flip game. I can't really even say that this looks like it's a troll game or even particularly a low effort game, just probably not enough funding to polish it and make it actually play. And the fact that it's an MMO, which this has been a consistent problem with games for the past decade or two, is that games get turned into MMOs because the main developer doesn't want to program any AI or write any story or actually have a product that they could deliver that an individual player could appreciate in any way. Instead, they want to make the players make most of the content. This guy's just waiting. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Widget Satchel, which seems like you're playing as a squirrel, running around, messing with a bunch of toys, for lack of a better term, and platforming. A bunch of widgets. Yeah. There might be a game here. Or it might just be a boring platformer, so I'll put it on the follow list. $11.99. English, Japanese, and Spanish Latin America, which is an odd combination. So yeah, it might be that Widget Satchel is a kind of Dead Cells concept, watered down and a little bit more comedic. And you might just do multiple runs to find items that make your runs work better, your future runs run better. Let's see. Moving on, Gamatsu has the Famitsu review scores for issues 16-17. So they gave Defenders of Ekron Definitive Edition, which I have no idea, I haven't heard of, a 29 out of 40. They gave a Switch game called Gigantic Army a 27 out of 40. They gave a Switch game called Juicy Realm. All of these must be just eShop Switch games. A 32 out of 40. Moto new puzzle Otsumatsu-san Shinpin Sokogetsu Kikakyu for the PS4 and Switch was a 29 out of a 40, and I would guess it deserves it just for that horribly long name, and that almost certainly is just a simplistic eShop puzzle game. Need for Speed Heat got 32 out of 40. Picto Quest for the Switch got 28 out of 40. Onichamba Origin for the PS4 got 32 out of 40. 32 I guess is about average. Like, seems like pretty much everything is getting 32 out of 40. Let's see, Pretty Princess Magical Candidate for the Switch got 29 out of 40. Stranded Sails Explorers of the Coast Isles for the Switch got 25 out of 40, so that one was particularly bad. And Wizards of Brandel for the PS4, Xbox One, and Vita got 27 out of 40, so pretty unsurprising that there wasn't much right now out to catch people's attention. Like, we're gonna be probably in an end of the year holding pattern for the rest of the year. I don't think there's gonna be any AAA games or anything like that. I do want to mention though that there's seems to have been a lot of advertising getting paid or still being paid for Death Stranding. Death Stranding getting a lot of advertising from the likes of Giant Bomb and Rick and Morty and plenty of other things. Alright, well, I think I'm close to winning anyways. No? I'm not close to winning. I've won. Onichamba Origins was the one game I was keeping an eye out for, but I would have been kind of ridiculous to assume that it was going to be a particularly good game as a just kind of warriors hack and slash beat 'em up game with zombies. Can't really expect it to be that great. It would be nice if it came out and it was like a 35 out of 40 or a 38 out of 40. It would be suspicious if it was a 40 out of 40. But yeah, they kind of know their target audience and they know what they're doing, and they know what they can do with their budget. I think a lot of game players are eventually going to have to come to that realization that we're going to have to be a little bit more gracious on the indie developers as far as their quality and the length of their games. I think Hellblade Susuna's Sacrifice might be a great example of that, where that's a short and kind of simplistic in its gameplay game that they put a lot of effort into telling a story that they wanted to tell and animating artwork that they wanted to animate. And I wouldn't mind if that's where we saw a lot of games go in that direction, and instead of feeling like they need to be these 30-hour experiences with multiple gameplay mechanics on top of multiple other gameplay mechanics, just to check boxes off some list somewhere. Let's see. Nope, can't do that right now. Next we have a game on Steam here called Seraphic Destroyer, which is a low-effort asset flip game where you're playing as what looks like just a random 3D model of a blonde woman who is just jumping around shooting things and swinging axes and blowing things up like crazy. This is 79 cents discounted. I assume the idea is that she's supposed to be a seraphim, which is like an angel, type of angel, I think. But yeah, this clearly is just a asset flip. So yeah, the curation doesn't seem like it's been really achieved yet, if that's what Valve is really trying to do, because there's clearly some more stuff that will have to happen to turn it into a storefront that actually is more reasonable to browse through. Speaking of the reasonability of browsing through storefronts, like looking at the pre-Black Friday countdown lightning deals on Amazon.com is a mess. Their website's a mess. It doesn't work half the time. It's a disappointment, and it's just kind of scrolls infinitely and randomly resorts things, and the sales that they've been having so far are not really great sales. They're maybe at best decent sales sometimes, but then a lot of times I'm seeing the prices on them and I'm going, oh, that's not really a good enough sale to make me want to buy this random thing that I wasn't really planning on buying. So, in the other Black Friday sales, there really hasn't been a lot of anything so far, but I guess Black Friday hasn't happened either, so let's see. Well, let's just go ahead and do this. So, Azure Lane Crosswave has its PS4 trophies out, and from that I can guess that there's a story mode, and each character is going to have a story. Honestly, I think I might enjoy Azure Lane best if I just watch the anime instead of trying to play Crosswave or the cell phone version of the games. And there's no guarantee that I am actually going to play any of these games. I'm just questioning it, I suppose. I'm curious to see what happens. 2 damage, divided however I want, or damage can't be avoided this turn. And we can't do that either. Alright, next. And then all attack. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article here. Crumbling World Alpha is now available, which looks like it's a, well, it says it's an ARPG. So, okay. Another game is in alpha. TechRaptor talking about... They're weird because they're kind of unfair about how they talk about games. if they did what I did and pretty much talk about everything that came out on Steam and just wrote an article all the time, they'd probably get pretty annoying. But to have articles coming out as often as there are posts from what's on Steam, but even what's on Steam is not too terrible to follow on Steam, on Twitter. So that would be one thing, certainly. But they seem to kind of pick and choose and play favorites, and that's not reasonable. And it's not even like they're curating for quality and they only talk about the good games that are coming out in beta, of which there's very few. Let's play one more game and then we'll wrap up this recording. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. The Pokemon Company is looking to sue the Sword and Shield leakers. No duh. Like, people are out looking to sue everybody all the time. In a funny way, I suppose the success of Sword and Shield, for all the people complaining about it, would play into any kind of lawsuit if somebody's going to try and claim that they lost sales or were in some other way harmed due to the leaks of basically the Pokedex being missing is the main complaint. I don't think there were too many leaks specifically focusing in on the quality being less or them not really doing anything new. And then in a lot of ways, what Pokemon Sword and Shield was what you could have expected from the Pokemon Company, because it's pretty consistent with their previous releases of Pokemon games. They've always been very iterative and not very experimental. Okay. +1/+1 and double strike would be nice. Is there a way we can play this so this will work well? Sure. Let's see how this works. That makes him a 6, that makes him a 7. He attacks twice, he does 14 damage. That's pretty aggro. But we don't have the 3 damage to win at the moment, so it could be 3 more turns if he finds a way to kill this guy, of just attacking with this guy. And if that's how that plays, then that's gonna take a while. Let's see. This guy doesn't have Death Touch, so he can block, but he'll have to kill his character. So now I'm at -1 attack. Interesting. How'd they pull that one off? Alright, what does this one do? And that. And attack. He just gives up. Which, yeah, aggro. Aggro's kind of working. At least on play mode. Maybe it won't work so well in ranked mode. And we're not doing too bad here. It's like 3 more victories and we'll have 10 and we'll get at least all of the experience that we can get today, and then it would be 8 more victories to get all the rewards you could get in today. And I don't think I'm ever going to get to a point where I play actually to 15 victories in a live stream. Not unless I somehow started making my channel be way more successful. That's one thing about the Copa thing, though, is that like when you looked at the trending tab, which I would check once a month at minimum, and usually not more than that, on YouTube, the trending tab was full of people playing Roblox and kids games, and some of the Minecraft streamers certainly are going to, like Captain Sparkles and Sunday. Like, yeah, their channels clearly are targeted towards kids. Like, and I don't think you can make a great argument to say that they were targeted towards 13 to 19-year-olds or 13 and older kids. No, they were clearly targeting 9, 10, 11-year-olds. And so if their channels fail miserably and can't be monetized anymore, that might bring a lot of money back to creators who were, you know, making content for adults like they should have been. But yeah, it'll be interesting certain to see what happens there. So yeah, we already talked about this story, so I'll just mention it briefly. Valve is clearing out the last of its Steam controller inventory. This is the Steam controller with the touchpads. I think it's a touchpad on both sides. I don't think it's just a oversized D-pad. It's basically a mouse input on both sides, and like nobody ever ripped off this pattern at all. Nobody liked this, and people would much prefer analog sticks, which in some ways a touchpad might be better than an analog stick. But yeah, nobody's willing to rip it off, and so yeah, that never caught on. Surprise, surprise. Well, that's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. We've still got some news. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link down below to Patreon or the Steam August sale, autumn sale, whatever. A Steam sale is going on right now, so you could friend me and gift me a game off my wishlist. There's a way of supporting me, or you could just gift me a gift card if you don't want to pick, or you could just gift me a game you'd like to see me cover. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.